Hello there, product people. Welcome to the show that supercharges your abilities to become better thinkers, makers, and leaders. I'm your host, Alsawi, and I'm thrilled to have you join me for this exciting episode of Product People. In this episode, we'll discuss how designers can approach their relationship with AI technologies, common mistakes to avoid when improving design craft, ethical considerations when designing for AI, the importance of using a human-centered approach to design AI-powered products, and meaningful career advice in the age of AI. Whether you're a designer, a product person, an entrepreneur, or just someone curious about the impact of AI products on individuals, communities, and societies, you're in the right place. As always, you can expect an honest conversation, valuable insights, and meaningful advice that can fuel your own journey with product, design, and leadership. Let's dive right in. Today, I'm joined by a multidisciplinary product and design leader, founder, advisor, and mentor with a strong passion for creating impactful experiences at the intersection of design, technology, and social impact. She thrives on pushing the boundaries of UX design and driving transformational change by fostering human-centric mindsets. She recently founded UX for AI, that's UX the number 4 AI, an initiative that champions human-centric AI and promotes UX innovation to develop AI solutions that enhance human experiences. She advises AI startups on human-centered AI strategies and design as they navigate the rapidly evolving AI landscape. She enjoys hiking, traveling, and photography. Fun fact about our guest, a small collection of images she uploaded to Google Maps got almost 2 million views. Without further ado, let's welcome Ewa Ding to the Product People podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to start with understanding and hearing your journey with design, your story. How did it start? How did it evolve? And where are you now on this design journey?
Wow, what a question. Believe it or not, my path to design began in electrical engineering. I went to the best engineering school in China. I have both bachelor's and master's degree in electrical engineering. Then I spent a decade in Silicon Valley tech world doing software development. I was always a STEM kid, and it's really fascinating. I worked at Sun Microsystem Labs. You know Sun Microsystems? It's gone now, and it was a pretty impressive company. I worked at labs where Eric Schmidt, the first Google CEO, was the CTO at the time. And at a very young age, I was a tech lead at Sun. And later, I went to a couple of high-profile startups, including a startup founded by Jim Clark, Netscape, the first major browser, and the likes like Ariba, who had Blockbuster, like IPO during the tech boom, and they really pioneered the modern enterprise procurement platform. Anyway, so my engineering career was doing well, but I always felt something was missing. I always liked art and design. I just never had a chance to pursue as a career. And as I got deeper into engineering, working on product, listening to the product managers, because at that time, the entire development cycle was about implementing what PM tells you. So I became increasingly frustrated by the lack of direct user input. I did not know whether the stuff I was making is something they like, they need, or really provide value to them. So I remember I always had conversations with platform architect, how much we need to make it easier. And a turning point came when I argued against just write a user's guide and users will learn how to, deal with it. And that was it. So that was when I realized my future probably is somewhere else, maybe designing stuff for people. I took a leap of faith. I quit the engineering altogether. And I first started building my own startup, a platform for parents. So I found myself spending hours talking to parents, what they need, what their pain points. And I was spending a lot of time picking colors, matching pixels. I was like, this is a lot of fun. So this led me to enroll in a HCI master's program. And it was really fascinating because you have to learn a lot of psychology, right? Cognitive psychology, engineering psychology. It was like fireworks going off every day in my head. Because I think I had a lot of intuition, but I did not know why I did what I did. But when all the scientific fundamentals start to become clear to me, that I realize why I have to do what I have to do. So it's like half art, half science. And it's fascinating when I realized my technical background started to merge with my creative side. And I felt like I became whole again. It was like finding home, that experience. That was very, very fascinating. So before I completed the program, I was hired as a UX design lead, and that was it. Then my second job, I was already the head of design. And my technical background really helped because in the Silicon Valley, most of those B2B software are pretty technical. And so I actually had an advantage. I knew how to talk to engineers because I was one of them, right? I know how to work with them. I know how to translate cutting edge technology into something that user can process and can take action on. So that made me very happy, frankly. And I worked with startups exclusively to have the freedom. It was very early on, I think, because UX field is quite young. And when I started, a lot of big companies were just starting to build the design team and everything. I remember hearing that at Oracle, at some big companies, changing a style sheet takes 3 months, right? So I basically stay in the startup world to have the freedom to push the boundary of UX design and working on technologies or design patterns that never seen before. I have 2 design patent, the new design, like we filed the patents for the design I did. So it was really, really exciting journey. From there on, I think I start getting into the product side because you can't really cut the UX out of the product. I think that's why I start really doing the product design, right? Looking at users' need, responsible for end-to-end the product experience. That's when everything came together. So after, 15, 20 years, I have a lot of experience. I feel like I wanted to have bigger impact. And that's when AI came to the picture. And I saw some AI demos really scared me in the sense that people were so thrilled they only look at the extraordinary power of AI. They forgot the human side of it. So right now, my mission is clear. I wanted to promote human-centered design to AI. And I think AI is here to stay, and it's very, very important for especially designers, product managers, startup founders to understand how to approach AI development using a human-centric approach. So we can not only make sure we harness the power of this extraordinary technology, but we also make it easy and intuitive and make it good for people, for the society, and uphold our value. This is what I'm working on. Right now.
Thank you for sharing. What a journey. I love how you took us on the big milestones, starting in electrical engineering, going through becoming a tech lead and feeling that missing element that you found in design. And I want to maybe dive into 2 terms that I think we're going to be using quite a lot today. And you already did. One of them is design and the other one is AI. And I want to understand, before we discuss the connection between these 2 important words or concepts or fields in our conversation today, what do we mean when we say design and what do we mean when we say AI?
Oh, that's a very good question. Very good thing to be very clear about. To me, design always, design is not a new term. There's always a lot of traditional design, graphic design, and whatnot. But I think for this conversation and for what I do, for me, it's a product design. And this goes a little beyond the UX design, right? We design the whole product so it will deliver the best user experience. And it's a holistic approach to create and develop a product that solves user problems, meet their need, deliver a functional, good to look at, easy to use experience that add value to their lives. That's what I mean. We're not talking about UI design. We're not talking about visual design. Those are just elements of the whole product design. In my mind, AI is not just a Gen AI. Gen AI is one element right now because it's so easy to get into, very popular. And AI is much bigger field than Gen AI, right? If you look at at business intelligence tool, GenAI is a very small element, but machine learning, neural networks, predictive AI, pattern recognition, there's tons of AI stuff that's there in computer vision and so on and so forth. So to me, AI, but mostly is neural network based, not algorithm based.
Now, from your experience, you had the exposure and the opportunity to work purely in tech. You moved to design, and then you also complemented or you completed the trifecta with product in a way.
Yeah.
I want to understand from you, as you observed designers and some of their behaviors, some of their ways of thinking, what are some of the common pitfalls when they seek to improve their craft? And if you can highlight your thoughts specifically on how do they think about improving their craft in context of integrating AI into their design process?
Very good question. Frankly, having a career in design is, especially as head of design, is not so easy. A lot of times you have to spend a lot of time finding the right designers and mentor them. The issues I usually help them to improve, we call ourselves product designers. But that term is so overused. And some designers don't really understand the product side of stuff. And they don't even try to work with product manager to have an impact on the product side. So I think a part of it is realize that what type of designer that you want it to be, right? Just want to be UI designer, you just want to do layout, you're excellent at Figma, or you're more UX designer, can design more holistically for the overall experience, or you want to expand even more that thinking about the product as a whole. That's one thing I think every designer needs to be clear. I think once I had a couple of cases, like the ones I explained to them, they'll be like, oh, of course, I wanted to do product design, right? Because that's the biggest impactful thing you can do. But then some of them do not know how to work with product managers. They do not know how to work with engineers. So that brings the second pitfall that I want to talk about, that the collaboration aspect of it. I always tell my team, if the product manager asks you to do something, first ask why before you do anything about it, right? You want to understand why this is the user requirement. How did he get his data? Why you should do it? What value does it add? I think be able to form this tight collaboration, right, partnership with the product managers, with the engineers, is really critical for design to be successful. Because think about it, even if you have the best mocks, if it's not implemented, it's useless. So the other pitfalls, like I sometimes, and I felt like UX after 20, 30 years, it's becoming, I'm saying it, probably it's too harsh, okay? But I see a lot of copying going around. It's almost like, oh, Facebook did this, so it's okay. We do it too. But I'm sorry, I don't think any design patterns or layout or basically any design you see in the existing product is good enough, right? I mean, you cannot say 100% are great. Second, even if it's a great design, it may not be applicable to your own design context. But I hearing this so much is like, well, look, they did this, so it's okay. I'm like, but what do you want to achieve? So I'm seeing that the reluctance, of course, nobody wants to take a fault, because a new pattern is you always take some kind of risk. But if we don't try to design specifically for the context that we are designing for, there will be no innovation, right? Mm-hmm. There will be no new things. And I want to point this out because with AI in the picture, this becomes increasingly important. AI will fundamentally transform user experience. And if we do not know what the real problems are, what the values we want to add, I'm not sure actually you can take advantage of of AI to deliver better user experience.
What are some of those applications or examples where, as a designer, let's say as a product designer, to be a bit more specific, where I can take advantage to use elements of AI to improve my craft? What's a good application and what's a misapplication?
It's actually quite tricky, and I haven't seen a lot of mature product out there. Frankly, this is, I think, what AI is good at. AI fundamentally is good at predict. It's not good at making layout. So it can come up with some kind of layout, but you will never know the nuances of your context, right? So I think what I'm trying to say is in order to have the use AI the right way, that you need to realize AI is a tool, and you can use it to automate some of the process, because design process is very complex, right? You can use AI maybe to fast make a prototype. And I heard there's a app from Airbnb that it can convert something into a prototype really quickly. Prototyping takes a lot of time, right? That's the most time consuming aspect. And you can use AI maybe to create variations of design. And it's really good at doing that. Once you train it with kind of design you want, it will very good coming up with variations. But the key is something looks nice, even fancy, may not be the best design. You really have to be aware of what you want to achieve with this design. So what I'm trying to say is use AI, maybe come up with some inspirations, template or layout as a starting point, but it should never be the final design that you're going to submit. Right? You have to check that creative side has to be there that AI cannot do. And and another thing I want to say is a lot of people trying to use AI because Gen AI is so popular to do user research. Yeah, I use AI to do market research, to do some user research, but I would not use AI to replace users. AI will never give you the same input or feedback that actual humans would, because AI is optimized, right? But the humans are complex beings. They have reaction to your user experience or based on their own experience, which is very different from each other. You can use AI, for example, as after you do all the user interviews, you have the notes, you have the recordings, use AI to summarize it, to clean it up. Totally. AI is excellent doing that. But I've heard examples that they train the AI to represent their users and just ask the AI, so what do you want? I don't think that's the right way of using AI. AI should not replace your real users. It should be used to automate some of the most time consuming, sort of doesn't require much creativity, that part of the process. So for example, right, I was asking a designer, can we use AI to create a starting point or a design system? Because design system takes a long time to build. And maybe it can give you a starting point, give you options like the styles to pick from, because it can save you a lot of time. But, if you're designing a component, you have to do it. But use AI in parts of that to speed up your process.
To sum up, a lot of the good applications that you mentioned of AI are parts of the process that do not require that critical, creative thinking, and they're more mechanical in nature or transactional in nature. You mentioned, for example, summarizing your research notes, or maybe highlighting and categorizing the themes that would help you synthesize what you've learned in your research, or creating an initial layout or prototype to start with. But it's not going to replace the deeper thinking that comes as part of the designer's toolkit and mindset. That was my takeaway. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you're right. Of course, maybe one day AI will become much more context aware, but I don't think right now it is capable of doing what actual designers. I don't think AI can replace designers at this point.
And now to today's topic, and I know it was set up as a relationship between designers versus AI, enemies or allies. Tell me your thoughts about that. Is the right frame or the right mindset to think of AI from a designer perspective and to think of it as an enemy, or to think of it as an ally, or is it something else?
I really like your title. I think at least last year was the fear running around. AI is going to replace everybody, we'll lose our jobs. But AI is really a tool, and we need to treat it like a tool and utilize it as a very smart tool. I think human AI collaboration is the way to go. And I think one important thing that we need to remember, augmentation is the way to go, not replacement. So it is a partner. It is a tool, a very smart tool, and it's unlike any other tools we ever use. But we need to be, so it is a partner, can really make you a lot more productive. With the design, you can always also give you some inspirations. But we need to make sure that the focus is still human centered. We should not over rely on them, and also be very aware of AI's capabilities and limitations, what they're good at. There are certain things that inherently are very different with AI than whatever software we ever made. So we need to be very clear that. Also keep track of the new development. AI is changing very fast. So just be very clear. If you are going to treat AI as a partner and use it to help you, you really need to know its capabilities, what AI can and cannot do for you. And the other thing is, part of that limitation has ethical considerations, and that's very important for a designer to be aware of.
Yes, absolutely. You know what I wrote down? I wrote a partnership between designers and AI with strings attached.
Yeah.
So that was in my notes.
That's a very good one.
You mentioned something, and we're actually going to speak about it next. So we're going to take a short break, but when we're back, I will be asking you about the ethical concerns for designers using AI. This episode is sponsored by The Collective, a grassroots educational academy for individuals who create, think, and communicate value through their products. If you're passionate about enhancing your thinking skills, improving your craft, and becoming a better leader, join our high-quality masterclasses, workshops, courses, and talks led by qualified instructors at affordable, crowdsourced prices. You can find their social media links in the description of this episode. Happy learning! All right, let's continue where we left off. I wanted to ask you about ethics, in particular, any ethical concerns that designers should consider when using AI in their work.
Yes, that is a very important topic when we designing for AI. And what do we mean by ethical concerns, and why it is so important in AI design is that AI inherently has limitations that, if you're not done right, will have ethical issues. For example, we all know neural network or just large language model. When we train these models, we use training data. So what do we use? The pre-trained large language models use everything out there in the internet. Those data, think about it, has facts, has misinformation, has biases. So we collectively as a society has tons of biases. So the data we left out there carries those biases. Now, if we use those data without cleaning them and to train the model, then whatever result you get from it will have the same kind of bias, maybe even more amplified. So we all know what that is called: garbage in, garbage out. So large language model, chatbox implementation is widespread, and we need to be very, very careful about the biases coming from the training data. And I'll give you an example. They had been some massive failures, some notable failures because the biases. One of them was, I think in 2018, Amazon created an AI recruiting tool, and it's 100% favor male candidate. Now it's a gender bias. And then there was another incident in Apple Cart. Somehow women get lower credit limit. These are all biases that as designers that we need to be aware of. Of course, there are a lot of other ethical concerns as well, because neural network by default, when you look at those neurons, they're not transparent. We do not know what's happening in there. The AI godfather, Geoffrey Hinton, he will be out there. So we don't even know that why AI becomes so smart, because what's going on, all these parameters, it's a massive neural network. You don't know how the result came about. Frankly, it's not like algorithm, right? It's not like simple math. So we inherently, there is no transparency. So when there is no transparency, you cannot explain it. But we all know that part of a good user experience, especially when you're in BI, when you want to give insights or actionable insights. Say, for example, you have a BI tool, you're advising your users to spend $5 million more somewhere on that channel. You got to explain how that decision was made. And that is very, very important. Have that transparency and explainability. And I know there are development into explainable AI. Hopefully it will come out soon because we really need it, right? I mean, before when you have algorithm, you can always add a tooltip and say, oh, this is a calculator because la, 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 la. And now what do you say? How do we sort of build this user experience when my platform really couldn't give me a explanation? It's a real challenge. It's a real challenge. And the other thing is like AI is going to be like we chat with ChatGPT. Everybody's so like, I like Pi. Pi has higher emotional intelligence. So some of those conversational interface will become more and more human-like. So then there is a privacy issue. And especially when you add hyper personalization, not only try to learn about your behavior, we anticipate your behavior, we use all the data possible to try to personalize the experience for you. But there could be a lot of data privacy issues. What can you use? What I don't want you to use. So we need to be very careful. Sometimes the technology is very powerful, but always have this ethical considerations when you design it out, and it will be a good approach to define a clear ethical guidelines in the early stage development, right? So not only designers, and this is something everybody needs to be aware, the whole company needs to be aware. And the PMs, the engineers, everybody needs to be aware of that. I think those are the three big things. There are other stuff like accountability. So AI output can be unpredictable because it cannot be trained on every possible situation. So when you have that, when there's something bad happen, who is responsible? Who's accountable, right? How do you make sure that users don't feel like they're being taken? Like something bad happens, but I have nobody to talk to. Overall, I feel like if our designer can really stick to the human-centered approach, whatever we design has to meet our need, meet people's need, meet your users' need, and be beneficial to them. That's the high-level guideline. And then a lot of things will falling into places, because there's a lot of extra considerations that comes with AI design. AI is unlike any other software that we have worked with before.
I like how you make a distinction when you started between designing for AI, meaning AI is part of the product, versus designing with AI, meaning AI is that tool or partner that helps me with my productivity. And I think making that distinction is important. I really like your points around transparency and accountability and the elements of bias that come into our products when we introduce AI and perhaps not have all the considerations you spoke about. One question that usually comes in, I'd love to know your response to it. It's an argument that you hear sometimes, which basically says, well, humans are flawed in nature and we are biased. So if AI is going to be more human-like, then it's expected that it would have elements of bias. How do you respond to that argument?
I think we first have to be very clear. Do we want AI to be human? Are we comfortable with having a software behave like human and is unpredictable? We are used to softwares that give us predictable out, and doesn't have opinion. It basically does calculation. We're used to that. And I'm not sure, even if say everybody's like, okay, sure, like let's just deal with like a human like AI. But I'm not even sure from an experience perspective that they're able to sort of adopt to that change, because our expectation for the new experience always based on our old experience. You see what I'm saying? So first of all, I would say I'm not sure I want a tool to really behave like human, because I need to be able to rely on it. And the second is that, even for some people want that, I think it will take them by surprise, because our fundamental concept or perception of a tool is something reliable. So reliability is very important. intelligent. I don't think we're out of that domain. You want something to help you to do something, but if that's not reliable, say if you hire a human, but when it does its job, it's not reliable, what do? You end up firing that person, correct? So I don't think it's a long-term solution. It's a very sneaky argument.
Absolutely. I think it goes back to that element of accountability that even if we collectively wanted AI to behave like humans, we can't really hold it accountable, which is something you mentioned earlier. So
Yeah.
I think it comes back to that. And it's almost trying to normalize having bias in decision making, but not only normalize it and make it okay, but not holding anybody accountable for it when it happens.
Mhm.
Now, for designers that are again looking to be better in their skills, you mentioned something around focus on the human-centric elements,
Mhm.
focus on the creative part, on the innovation, thinking about your designer's toolkit, your strategy, your problem framing, all the things that you'll be better in. But is there any skills in particular that you wanted to highlight to develop by designers to effectively work alongside AI?
Yes, I think collectively the design community needs to upskill themselves. I don't think in the future there will be a product without AI, frankly, because the capability of it, it's really powerful. So number one sort of skill is really to understand AI. You don't need to be an expert, but you need to understand what AI can and cannot do. Like, for example, what LLM is, what natural language interface, what are the limitations of that? How well can we do computer vision, recognize object? Understand that because we are the one on the application side. So just learn it and keep track of it because it's changing really, really fast. That's one skill. And the second one's relate to that is a lot of designers used to sort of keep anything technical, leave to the engineers, leave it to the PMs. But with AI, I feel like you really need to be a little bit more technical, like the data literacy. Understand how AI uses data. Understand how to work with data scientists. That's something, it's sort of a must. Take it as an opportunity, right? When AI is in the picture, that we need to adapt. We need to learn new things in order to do the right level of design. And the other thing that we have talked about is the ethical and awareness. I mean, this is pretty specific with AI, even though we do have ethical designs before, but with AI in the picture, this has become a lot more important. So we want to arm ourselves with the right knowledge. What are the issues? And there's quite a bit of that. And in regulations, right? We need to be aware the unique challenges that AI brought to us. We need to be able to understand that, including the ethical considerations, including explainability, including how do you automate but not over rely on automation and keep human in control. And another aspect is emotional design, because AI has the capability to be more human-like. I mean, the old software can never have that kind of emotional intelligence. But with that, there are a lot of applications, but also, do we even know how to design for that? So I'm actually very excited about all the new skills, all the new challenges that present to the designers. I think this is the opportunity for us to push for some UX innovation.
When we look at design as an industry, we see that there's lots of designers out there who are grappling with the high cost of living, especially in big cities, challenging economic circumstances. And some of them do feel the threat that perhaps their profession is under threat because of AI. Is there any specific advice you have for them?
I think the future is not that bleak. A lot of other professions are probably under much worse threat. AI can code already. And I feel actually pretty good because design is at least half art, half science, the creativity side. It's hard for AI to replicate. I think once we learn what AI cannot do, we'll feel a whole lot more comfortable to take this as opportunity. You look back in history, when there's any large innovation, human always adapt. There will always be initial fear. And this time, yes, there will be job lost, but we always have adapted. Critical question is really what AI cannot do, but you can, and that add value. And that's our unique value proposition. So start learning about AI, understand how you can design better. I don't believe AI will replace designers. frankly. But if you don't understand AI, I'm not sure that the job will still be there in the future.
I think that's very profound what you said. We can't really respond to any new technology if we fear it because we don't understand it. So a lot of that fear is going to go away once you have a proper understanding. So thank you for sharing that. I wanted to know from you if there is a specific cause or topic that you're passionate about and would like to share with our audience.
Yes, I'm really focusing on human-centered approach. And the core of it is still sort of user-centric way. I really want to make sure that all the designers out there, all the AI funders there, people are making AI product that really rooted in that approach. Because if we don't solve real problems, there will be no market for your product. If we don't deliver the right level of user experience, your product would not get into even early majority. From that perspective, I don't think things have really changed, right? It's not because that you say, oh, I'm doing AI, that you're getting funding, that, you will just get launched. That time is gone already, right? So we really need to stick to the real problems, the real people's experience, solving real issues, and to make sure that the AI solution doesn't negatively harm the society, the community, your users. There have been quite a bit of large AI sort of product flops already. And learn from those failures and don't make the same mistake. And one example I want to mention is the famous AI pin, that little device that you wear and trying to replace the whole smartphone. And, I don't think there's a real problem to solve here. Smartphone can solve a lot of issues. So the only AI pin is solving you is you can wear, you don't have to carry it with you. That's how I look at it. It might look pretty cute. I'm a woman. I will never wear a device like that on the street. It's just ridiculous to me. But the worse yet, a lot of things smartphone can do, AI pin cannot do. And the basic stuff that you think it will do, it doesn't do well. So what is the value prop? There's no surprise that product like this will just fail. There are so many AI companies out there doing everything. And, so stick to the real problems, a thin wrapper around LLM and become a product that I don't think is a long-term solution. So, and go beyond LLM. AI is very powerful in a lot of other ways. It's best at predict, not talk. That large language model is predicting the next word. So at the essence of it is still predict. There's a lot of cool stuff it will do. I think that's, really the message I want to convey to the audience. And if you're just a user, right? Be an informed user. Demand transparency, demand data privacy, demand regulations, because this technology is so powerful. If it's not designed right, it very likely will have negative consequences. So I think everybody should be aware. My daughter is in design school, and a lot of her friends will be like, oh, AI is going to take away creativity. So they don't even want to know what AI is. And I felt like that's a mistake.
All right. Lastly, how can those interested in learning more about your work connect with you?
Follow me on LinkedIn. I started UX for AI and trying to build that community. Follow the page, UX for AI page. And if you like what I have discussed, I think that will be great that if you could join our community, and together we can promote human-centered AI design and make sure that the future of humanity is in our own hands.
Awesome. It's a great way to end this conversation. Iwa, this chat was fun, insightful, and designful. And I want to say thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on the Product People podcast.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
I want to convey my gratitude to our awesome guest, Iwa Ding, for sharing her insights on design and AI. During our conversation, we discussed the collaboration between designers and AI to create human-centered products. We also spoke about the essential skills that designers need in the age of AI and the ethical dilemmas that surface during the design process. I found Iwa's insights to be fresh, meaningful, and valuable, and I hope you did too. I want to express my gratitude to all our listeners. Your support means the world to me. If you found today's episode valuable, please hit subscribe, leave a review, or share this podcast with your friends. I also encourage you to share your feedback and your ideas on what topics you'd like to hear about next on this podcast. Your input is very important as it helps me learn and improve. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes, and until next time, stay courageous, creative, and compassionate. Take care.